Jared, I'd never, like, you have quite an Aussie accent. Like, I know we're all Aussie, but I never really realised until I listened to the podcast. I was like, Jared sounds really Australian.
Shit.
Words out.
I'm not calling you a
It's funny, like-
bogan. You're classy. You're still all class.
You are listening to the Second Unit podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in again. This is the Second Unit podcast. And which episode are we in? This is episode
6.
Episode 6.
We're
Thank you
flying.
so much for
Big
tuning in
6.
again. And like last time, if you had the pleasure of watching the last episode, like last time, we have invited one of our closest friends, a really talented writer, director, producer, and an actor. Oh my God! Please put your hand together to welcome Cleo to the podcast. Thank you, Cleo. Thanks for joining us.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
That's the least we could do for your time. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I had Pfizer not long ago. I'm still kind of getting the weird Pfizer vibes, but other than that, I'm good. I'm on adrenaline now, so I'm good. It's curing the Pfizer.
Is this jab 1 or jab 2?
Jab 2, so I'm excited. I think the fact that I'm excited
Oh,
that I'm
just in
vaccinated,
time.
I know,
Let's go.
absolutely scraped in for Freedom Day.
That's great. Speaking of Freedom Day, which is coming soon. I mean, we can talk about Freedom Day right away because Freedom Day is on the news. It's on like everybody's tongue. I was talking to my girlfriend today. We were thinking of going to a hike, maybe to the Lane Cove National Park or the Royal National Park or something like that. And honestly, it's not even like that big of a deal, but we still make it like a Freedom Day thing. But it's just the illusion of choice, the illusion that you know what, if we wanted, we could just go to the city. Maybe. Do you guys have any plans for Freedom Day or after we get out of the lockdown?
Just real quick, for anyone watching, we are recording on the Sunday before Freedom Day, so you're probably having and enjoying freedom right now as you're listening. So I hope you're making the most of it, and I hope you're enjoying being out and about, and you've had a beer or a wine or however you choose to relax. But for us, we can only fantasize still for another 24 hours. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't have too many plans because it's not like life stops as Freedom Day comes, you know. We still have work, we still have uni. But yeah, I think I'm just keen to like be able to leave my 5K radius and like leave my house. Like whatever I do, don't really know. What about you guys?
I've got a pub night planned, absolutely. And this whole time I've been so keen to get sloshed and do things. But I had like 2 wines with my mum the other night, and I think it's been long enough that I've lost my tolerance. Like we were watching
Absolutely.
we were watching Jeopardy, and I was like, I'm having trouble here. I'm having trouble sitting still. I'm feeling dizzy. So I don't know, but I think most of all, I'm excited for the little things, like catching buses and trains and stuff like that. Like you miss all of those like little routine things when you
Trains maybe, buses.
Buses not so much.
I'm
but
not a big
trains
bus
definitely.
fan, but yeah.
Ooh,
I'll enjoy the first bus.
Right.
The ferry. I mean,
As
how
the
often are you
novelty
catching the
of it.
ferry?
I mean, once in a while on a Sunday. I was actually thinking about this one time we took the ferry because I live in Rhodes and we are like 5 minutes from the ferry, right? So we take the ferry. The ferry takes fucking 45 minutes to get to the city, but it's worth it. You know, it takes you through Kissing Point and fucking Barangaroo, and then goes to the other side of I don't know what's the other side. I think it's Kissing Point. That's what it is. Breakfast Point, and you know it goes to like different points, and then you get to the city. It's so much fun.
You don't get seasick?
I think ferry for me, no, not at all. I think ferry for me is just like true sign of holiday. It's just a true feeling of like I can just relax. There's nothing else to worry about.
See, I get bad motion sickness, so I'm
that's a rip.
I know I get motion sickness like if I'm sitting too far back on the bus. I can't talk to someone next to me in the car. I have to be looking out the window and straight. So ferries they're nice, but I'll be taking something beforehand.
What about you, Chomp? What about you, Chomp?
What about me? What?
What are your plans? You got any plans?
Oh, okay. Here we go. I guess my plans. I mean, to go watch a whole bunch of movies in the theater, obviously. But I think my main plan is to go to the pub and watch the footy grand final, Panthers versus Rabbitohs. Oh no! Wait, that already happened. What was the score again?
Are you gonna rewatch it?
Jack, are you okay?
Did they replay?
This guy, bro.
What?
No. So just to put this into context, sorry, I was meant to throw Cleo under the bus to begin with because she goes for the Rabbitohs.
I do.
But-
I'm.
Just off this, I have a very funny story because this shows how much I am into fashion and stuff. I work at JB Hi-Fi
Nice.
and I was on the counter and this lady walked up holding a handbag and I was like, oh, do you go for the Rabbitohs? And she's like, what? And I'm like, you got a Rabbitohs bag? And then I think she's like, no, it's Gucci. I was like, oh.
Oh my god, this is the red and green. The red and green.
Yeah.
That's oh, that is
Oh, that
bad.
is
Thought she
hilarious.
went for the Rabbitohs.
My equivalent experience of that was Felix at school had the Rabbitohs sticker on his water bottle, and I was like up the bunnies, like trying to. This is the first time I ever spoke to him. I was trying to make conversation. I was like, "Yeah, I'm from South Sydney," and he was like, "Oh, what? I thought that was just a picture of a rabbit." And I was like, "Oh, this is awkward. Not the cutest sticker, but yeah." No, yes, I do. Pubs replay grand finals? Is that a thing?
No. It's just like
Just for the gag.
Is this Chomp trying
Just to-
real hard
just to, like,
to bring
bring up the
Rabbitohs
NRL
and
grand
yeah,
final.
he's just trying real hard.
I wouldn't be surprised though, to be honest, if they did replay it.
I mean, it would just be
100%, like,
full of
I guess-
Panthers fans.
I guess probably like
Yeah.
at 3 a.m. somewhere. Like if they have nothing else to play, might as well play the NRL finals.
Mm.
Yeah. No, but that's interesting. How you just thought that's Rabbitohs, but it's actually Gucci, and you have no idea what
I
Gucci is.
was made fun of for like the rest of the
Oh
day.
my
That is
God,
hilarious.
dude. That is so funny, bro.
But like,
Um,
wouldn't it have the like G on it or something?
I
Isn't
think
it
I
like
just
two
like
Gs
I
or
saw the
something? I don't know.
strap, and it was like just
Ah.
red and blue, and I was like, that's. And I think it
Red and
was
green.
because I feel like the bunnies were like playing that night as well, so I was like,
So it was in your head the
Rabbitohs.
whole time.
She was like, "I'll get my
and
bag
then-
out."
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk around with the Rabbitohs bag.
Oh, that is
Oh, that
hilarious.
is hilarious. That is funny. But now that we've got the quick warm up out of the way, unless you've got anything else to add, let's just get into the meat and potato that we have planned for this podcast, which was to talk about film and television and just in general our lives, because no one else will listen to. So why not? Let's just do it for the podcast. No, speaking of film and Cleo, you've been a producer, you've been a director and a writer. Talk us through about how'd you get into this and what do you do?
Oh wow. I mean, I always thought I was going to be an actor, and I don't know. I think I loved it in high school. Like I thought that was like awesome, and obviously like in high school it's all like musical theater and stuff like that. But my parents are both actors, and they were sort of, I think particularly my dad, he
Ooh.
was like, because sort of when I would fantasize about being an actor, I would fantasize about being these particular characters and in these particular stories that I had come up with. And my dad was like, "You're not going to be doing that. You're going to be in toothpaste ads and Home and Away if you become an actor." And so I was like, "Oh well," like he was like, "Be Spike Lee. Put yourself in stuff. Doesn't matter if you're bad. You're the director." And I also really love writing. And I think that's, acting is a similar sort of skill to writing. You're imagining things. So yeah, kind of off of that, I got into, I assistant directed the school musical in year 11. And I guess, yeah, from there
Ooh, huge.
I got into directing and writing and stuff. But yeah.
I'd imagine that must have been a big production to assistant direct.
Yeah, it was The Secret Garden. Believe it or not, they have turned that into a musical. And I was obsessed with the book as a kid. So it was fun. And I went to one of those schools that like to pretend that like the musicals were like Broadway, like we had playbills and everything. So yeah, it was
Mm.
good little playing pretend.
This is the next shit, all right? Come on now. Let's put our hearts into it. No. I remember when I was back in India, um, you know, the final and the end of the year annual function used to be a big thing. You know, we would come up with new stories and new stuff to entertain these parents and the audience, whoever was there. Yeah, it's so much fun. It's really fun industry to be a part of.
It's especially great when you
Yeah.
have like one of those drama teachers that takes themselves she would like tell us like we had 3 nights of standing ovation, and we would pretend like that was such like we'd won a Tony Award, but it's like 3 nights of standing ovations from all our parents, cousins, and friends. Like obviously they're gonna stand up when Timmy sings. But yeah, it was always fun. It definitely was like big fish in a small pond kind of vibes. But yeah, definitely that
True,
sort of
true.
romance, and like even if it's your parents, that feeling of like performing, I think that's what got me into all of this.
Huge. So did you just come to after straight out of high school?
Yeah,
So
I
you
came
had like
straight out of high school.
amazing.
I submitted a story that I had prepared for an exam. Um, so yeah, I very much had to come from sort of like writing English exams to like writing scripts and screenplays, which I hadn't really done before. Um, and yeah, it was intimidating at first because a lot of people like have a lot more experience in film at AFTRS, and I think there are people that are already working in the industry, so that was intimidating.
Mm.
But yeah, it's definitely I kind of enjoy being one of the younger ones in the year.
Fast forward to Girl Dog, which is a production you did last semester, where Jack was sitting on it, and I was assisting Jack. Talk us through about that. What was that about?
Yeah, so basically, in my year out of high school, came out of the perfect little bubble of an all-girls school where everything's nice and soft and sweet. We used to call each other bitches all the time. We always like it would
Mm.
be a fun thing, it would be a jokey thing, but also it was your first port of call if you were in a fight with someone. I realized I was doing the same thing, and
Mm.
when I heard it from the guy, oh, this is a different ring to it. And when I would try to explain it, they'd be like, but you would say it all the time. And I was kind of going, yeah, they're sort of like me. They don't mean to say it with maliciousness. They don't mean to kind of push this sort of toxic culture. It's just so ingrained in all our language. So I stopped saying it, went on a bitch fast, and it
Mm.
started to kind of bring on this whole new meaning for me. And I kind of realized that whenever I was annoyed with a guy, I would be like, I'm annoyed with him because of XYZ, but he's still a nice guy. Whenever I was annoyed with a girl and talking to someone about it, it was so much easier to just say she's a bitch. Whereas when I started making an effort to take it out of my vocabulary, I was like, wow, I've been using that word a lot and I've been dismissing people just with that word. So that's sort of what spawned Girl Dog. It's a documentary about the word bitch based off responses that I got from people in like my school community and different members of the crews, like family and school community, about what the word meant to them and how they use it. And
Right.
basically, yeah, trying to get people to rethink their language.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think the cool aspect of that is just to think objectively rather than just putting this label on someone. I think I'm a big advocate of that as well. Like no matter where you are, I guess even in COVID, it's been such a big whirlwind of an event for everyone. And so just to put people who are going out there to protest anti-mask rallies and like whatnot, it's easy to just say, oh, these are dumbass people, like they don't understand anything. But then if you try to actually like break it down, look at it objectively, the place that they come from, their income sources are completely um, you know um, like canceled. So I'm not supporting them, but it's like it's always important, no matter which side of the argument you're on, to look at things
Yeah.
objectively. I'm a big advocate of that. No,
And
agreed.
nuance, like and I think that's what labels do, is it changes the way that you think. Like you shove someone under that label. And it's so interesting, like reading the responses that we got from the survey when we asked people what the word meant to them and how they use it. It meant like we got such a plethora of different definitions, like people saying, oh, it's a nasty person, it's a bossy person, oh, it's someone who's scared of something. Like it one word, so many definitions. But even then, people seem to have this sort of attitude, I guess, that like if someone called someone a bitch to them, they knew exactly what they meant. Oh yeah, I've got her sorted now. She's a bitch. I understand. So yeah, it's interesting how much complexity you deny people by just sort of like shoving them in that category. It's also an interesting thing. Like I think that's the thing as well. I think a lot of people sort of like, oh, this is a feminist thing. I think I also found it genuinely interesting to read about how we use language and how language like changes the way we see things and influences the way we think. So yeah, it's a really interesting topic, even if you take aside the sort of gender discrimination side of it.
Totally. Jared, have you had any opportunity working with Cleo ever in a class? Because
No,
I know
I
we've
don't.
worked together.
Yeah, no, I don't think, Cleo, you and I have had a class. Well, not that I can
I
recall.
don't think we have.
Um,
Jack and I, however, it's hard to
mm,
find a class I haven't had with Jack.
No, we're in like
We're
everything.
like buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so
Actually, I think we
interesting.
did. Maybe we had one class. Now I'm thinking about it, like a seminar
We had
or
screen
something.
business together.
Screen
I
business, yes,
remember
but
that.
that was the first time. Like, it took 1.5 years before we had a class together.
Mm.
That's a funny thing with AFTRS. You can go like, there's people I haven't had a class with in nearly 2 years of being there. Yeah, no, so I haven't, Kumar. No.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy how like afters. I mean, obviously afters tries to like randomize people,
Mm.
and put them in different classes, so you get to meet new people. But I can imagine even that randomizer would have trouble
Well, they
putting.
make it so
putting
random that they don't spread it out. Like if it was random but with a bit of intention, then it would make sure
yeah.
that you get a range of people. But no, the random machine is like Jack Fairclough and Cleo Baldwin together again.
Yeah, like that that happened with just the randomness that happened with Apple. This is completely off topic, but with their shuffling of music, it
Right.
was too random. Like people would listen to the same songs, so then Apple had to like turn it into an algorithm that would
Right.
sort of learn from what to shuffle. Yeah.
I always wonder that.
Spotify
Did
does a similar thing.
you guys ever have an iPod Nano? That was
Yes.
like the old days. It was like this tiny little square. You
My
could
heart
only
still.
shuffle on it. Me skipping until it would get to like a Natalie Bassingthwaighte song so I could get past all the Black Eyed Peas.
Bro, the time.
Those are the
Oh my
days.
god. Yeah. Wait, so is everyone an Apple Music user here?
Oh,
Are we looking at Apple Music?
whoa, no, I am Spotify.
Oh my god.
I'm a Spotify supremacist.
Divided.
Spotify with you, Cleo.
Oh my god.
What?
So we got Jack and me. We're a heavy Apple Music user. We share our playlist and whatnot. And then we got Jared and Cleo coming from the Spotify.
It's like
Spotify
cat
camp.
and dog people. Spotify people are like cat people. They're like, I like my thing, but I also like yours. I
Jared's
don't
like-
mind it. Apple Music people, I feel like they will die on that hill every time. Like, how disgusting. The amount of people I've had complain to me about how, like, green and black don't go together. I don't care. Okay? It works well.
I think it works fine. I think I could, if I could give my subjective opinion there as well, I would describe all Apple people in general in that category, of which they will die on the hill of defending
Oh
Apple.
wow.
But
Okay.
This is why he's here.
hey,
Bring
yeah,
out the Google book.
I'm here to
Speak
provide
openly,
alternative
speak openly.
perspectives. Yeah.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it's pretty straightforward. We've got Apple Music. It's in an Apple iPhone. I'll take it any day. I was thinking about random classes and just like the whole idea of afters and just trying to put these really talented kids together to teach them something, or maybe put them in an environment where they grow and learn something. Just brings this question over and over again: can you actually teach filmmaking? Like, you know how there's like this whole school of film school versus no film school camp?
Mm.
What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, it's like hard. Like, where do you start then if you're not starting at like, I think there's such an, like, every other job, it's like, yeah, you get the degree. Whereas like film school, I mean, yeah, it's sort of hard to like academify. Not that that's a word, but we'll go with it. I think it's sort of hard to do that with art, but then at the same time, it's like, where do you start? Would that mean that the film industry would just be nepotism? Like, how did, like, How would
Right.
you start without film school?
So it sort of gives you a jumping off point
Mm.
to begin.
I find that from our, you know, 2 year now experience probably of being at film school, and having learnt what I have learnt from the school and outside of the school, I think I've learnt more outside of the school environment
Mm.
than I have in. Um, but that's just on a personal level, but also maybe that's on a technical level, like a technical way of thinking as well. And because you said, how do we academify art? I think it depends on what form of art as well, and what, like, so for me, for example, like learning learning photography principles and that sort of thing. I think that is something that, yes, there's a level of subjectivity in the eye of the beholder, but there is a lot of technical objectivity and things that can be learnt too. Um, Whereas if you went for something like writing, maybe that is less of something that can be academically taught, although it is taught through things like, the structure, and there's beats and, other rules, I guess. But
That is the funny thing I've always found with like how they teach us writing is so like it's like a toolbox. It's like every story has 5 acts. At this point in
Mm.
the story, you have the rising action, and and it just feels like it feels restrictive. It feels like, yeah, if you have to write something for an assignment, follow that structure, tick those boxes. But then, when we're watching things to analyze them, they play with that form and they go beyond that. And it feels like, yeah, we're very, like, they try too hard to make it this, like, checklist mathematical thing when really it's sort of, it's hard. Like, how do you
Mm.
teach someone to be creative?
Mm.
But
mm,
I also think like camera and sound, whole like you learn through doing with those things. You learn through like repeating the
The
process.
experience is the best teacher. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And the more time you spend in a classroom and not, especially when you're not under pressure, you're not like, oh, I have to do this to make this film, or I have to do this to like, you know, succeed at this job. It takes away that like repetition thing.
Mm.
So yeah.
I just want to come back to what Jared was saying, how he's probably learned a bit more technical stuff outside of school. My whole view on school and university and like this institutions is that I look at them as a form of community. Like when I was joining AFTRS as well, I wasn't joining AFTRS for the tools or the gear or the studios. I was joining AFTRS because I knew
Mm,
this is the place where cool people, like really talented people, are going to be. So I want to be at the same place with them. I wanted to join for the people, not for the other things.
mm,
But having said that, it's like a tight, it's such a struggle to justify paying this amount of fee
mm,
for only the community, for only the people, um, because we look forward to getting value out of the school in form of the gear that we are given access to use, the studios that we can exploit the school with. Like, we spend a few days in there and we come up with, like, these cool shit. um, but yeah, so I don't know. I don't hold it up against afters because my expectation wasn't that anyways. But I
mm.
know like some people definitely came in for it.
So you reckon you would say you like don't really get much out of class?
I would say I would say the class aspect of it is has been a really, I don't know. It's a hit or miss for me, really.
Mm,
Sometimes I get a lot out of it. Sometimes I go like, go the whole day without learning anything. And then I think Jack and I, we had quite a lot of discussions around it, because Jack has really raised a really cool point about, like, I want to go back to like, I want to go back, I want to get out of the class and think, oh my god, I don't know anything about this. I want to go home and do more research. I want
Mm,
to learn more. I want to find out more resources
mm.
to solve these ideas that you've given me.
Yeah, I think that's something that, like, we fall into a trap at this school. It's like everyone expects that we're gonna learn filmmaking, but
mm,
like I think yeah, another guy in our year, Alex, gave a really good point on that. He's like, he studied to be a criminal lawyer for like 10 years or something, before coming here. And he was going, yeah, at law school, you would learn something, but you would not completely understand it. You would it would blow your mind, and you would be expected to go home and research and study. But I think, I don't know, that's a little bit missed at afters. Like, I think people expect to learn everything, but then, yeah, like what can happen in class is they try to do it so you'll learn what they want you to in that day, and not need to have gone home and then look into it more. But I want that. I want to sit in class and go, this is blowing my mind. But because I love
Because I
the
appreciate
craft.
so much, because I love it so much, I want to go back home and do my own work on it.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I think that's sort of one of the kind of fundamental problems with having an art school, is that generally the kids that want to get into art, they want to get into film or whatever, they're the kids that hate school. They hate the structure. They hate the way everything is turned into assignments and marks and ranking and essays. And they express themselves in different ways. So when you take that thing that they express themselves with and that medium, and you try to force it into an assignment structure, especially like with the way that AFTRS do it, their sort of ethos, particularly in the sort of bachelor degree, is, multi-skilled generalist. So you're doing all of these different things without, across different disciplines, from sound to film, whatever it is. And it feels like high school again, because it's being split into these separate subjects. You have assignments, you have due dates, you have to write reflections. It takes away that expression out of it. And I agree, Jack, it takes away the, like, when you feel like you're learning something in that really sort of like classroom, doing it because you have to meet the deadline style, it takes away that, like, I want to go home and experiment and I want to push myself. It, yeah, takes away a lot of the, I think, freedom from it.
Yeah, it's like, just learn what I need to do to get this assignment in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having said that, though, like, unfortunately, like, this is something Jared and I have discussed. Like, unfortunately, we don't have a solution for this. Like, we do criticize afters, we do criticize the way things are run, but accept it or not, they're going above and beyond to make sure our experience is pretty epic. And I don't know any better, but but how you do, you find a couple of things which you don't like, and then you talk about it. So that's that.
Well, I mean, Kumar, I think you're one of the people that's gotten the most out of it, because you jump onto so many productions and you branch out so much. And it sort of feels like, yes, in terms of the classroom work, maybe that's not as ideal as it could be. Maybe it's hard to put it in that format anyway. But I feel like sort of like the secret key, like the kind of, dragon scroll and
The
Kung
real
Fu Panda,
essence.
is to take your own initiative and
Exactly.
book equipment, get a crew together, write your own thing, not wait for teachers to hand it to you. And I think that, in a way, because they don't spoon feed us that stuff, we learn it more and we're forced to do it more and go out on a limb more, message people if they want to be
100%.
And that puts you,
100%.
it makes it harder, makes it riskier, makes you feel like you're sometimes going it alone a little bit more. But I think that teaches you more when you have to take your own initiative. So maybe that's the secret. Maybe
For
that's
sure.
the plan.
I think for anyone listening, or for anyone watching, if you are thinking of going to a film school or like coming to afters, I'd probably say go to afters to not because it's a film school, or not because you will come out thinking you can go on a set and like do it. You go to afters because you meet people where you can go and make cool ideas with them. Okay, you go to afters so you can talk to them after school finishes, that, hey, this is something I'm working on, how about we spend the weekend to create this. You go to afters to maybe go talk to people like Simeon, our tutor. Like, we can't stop talking about him. Like, he inspires us, he encourages us, and most of the things that we have learned, it's come out of him.
You go for a community. You go for a community, and you go to sort of, in a way, have competition. And I think that's probably something that we could have a little bit more. Like, I think art schools at their best are when they push you and when they, like, make you put your head down and kind of work as though you're in the industry, which can very easily turn into, I'm just doing this to get the assignment done. But I think like the sort of philosophy of somewhere like NIDA, they're like very much phoenix rise from the ashes, and that can be taken too far. And I think AFTRS is really good at including people and helping people along. But I think there are times where you want more of a competitive environment. And I think that's when film school works best, is when you feel like if I don't do well, there's someone else to take my spot. And if I don't do well, like everything's at stake. That like kind of pushing yourself, which I think that's when art school works, when you have community and when you have competition.
I think the things that work for afters, in my opinion, are the productions that we do. We need to do more of them. We need to encourage people to make something every week. I don't know, right? Like after the class, um, push people to come up with ideas, make like these 48-hour film challenges or stuff like that, where you are being pushed to the brink of it, where you become so like where you come close to the other creatives because you've gone through the same stuff. By the time you finish by the time you finish film school, you are so tight because you know you've done things together.
Like was that something that it was like in the Team Deacons podcast, I think like Roger Deakins was saying the film school that he went to, like, you know, he might have ended up making like 23 like,
Wow.
you know, short films in the 2 years or whatever he was there, because they were just constantly making things. And that's, I wish we got more of that, like Kumar says, because like the way the school works is, you know, we learn stuff for a whole term and then we have our end of year production, which brings everything in that we've learned. But I'd love to do one every week, like, just, you know, it doesn't have to be a short film.
Doesn't have to be the next Oscar winning short film.
Just get a camera, go out there, get some sound gear, and just
and
have
it doesn't
some
have
fun.
to be feature length. Like you can make make the best 30 seconds you can, because I think like they have that attitude of like, oh, we don't do that because we want you to work really hard, and it's better to make one thing that's really quality as opposed to 3 things that are okay. But like when you're given a semester to work on something, like I don't know about you, Jack, but I thought with Girl Dog, like I did most of the work in the last 3
The
months of
last
that
5
6 months.
days.
And pretty much the last 5 days. And you know why? It's because you're like, I've got to do it now. Like this, I have the pressure. And I think that's, pressure makes diamonds. I think when you mull over something too much, you also do run the risk of like overworking it, or worse, like losing motivation. Yeah,
Totally.
totally.
Jared, where do you stand? You've been awfully quiet in this whole conversation. Where do you stand in this argument?
Hasn't had his coffee.
I had it too early, so I think I'm on the down. No, I was just listening and hearing your thoughts. But on film school versus no film school, afters aside, I guess, like, maybe not afters aside, maybe with that in mind, I think we spoke earlier about a lot of it is self-motivation, and there was a word that was used that was really good. Starts with I, maybe your own, but doing it yourself, having your own motivation, your own whatever to go and
Put
do your
yourself
own
Initiative?
out there and then do your
initiative.
initiative.
Bingo.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the one. Having your own initiative to go and do these things, and after being a community and meeting people, and that's the best thing you can get out of it. And that's all true. But to me, like, to say that you have to go to film school, you have to go to afters to get that, like, no, you should have initiative regardless of whether you're there or not, and like, I think it's just a lot, like, I'm thinking maybe more on like objective side now, but it's a lot of money to pay to have some conversations with people and to not get taught enough to then have to have your own initiative to learn stuff outside of the school. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's this weird. Well, that's why I'm saying a little bit. It's a weird way of thinking.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with any of that, but I just feel like I wish for myself maybe that I had the initiative and I had the motivation and to go and seek these connections out, myself, or find other ways and do my things independently without having to kind of have the motivation due to like my expectations or my presumptions being not met.
Right.
I think part of
Yeah.
it as well also is like get the degree to please the family. Like, you say you want to do film and it's like, oh, whoa, what are you gonna be, the next Kate Blanchett, are you? And then you, like, when you say, well, I'm studying, like, I'm getting a bachelor's degree, then, like, your grandma's like, okay, good,
Then sort of like
you're going
legitimizes
somewhere.
your attempt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. What about
Yeah.
my question to you guys? Because you three have always seemed to me really confident camera people. Maybe that's just a facade. If so, you're doing it very well. But do you guys ever get that, like, film school imposter syndrome? Like, I shouldn't
Oh,
be here. I'm
you
not good
kidding me?
enough.
I live
Oh
by
my
that
god.
that
Every
mantra.
day.
Yeah.
Jared, maybe move your mic a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yep.
But every day, Cleo. Yeah. No, Jared, go for it.
No, that's just yeah, I agree. I feel like that all the time, and because I think it's sort of something that we started to talk about before, particularly with afters, is that it's a selective process to be accepted, and there's limited numbers of applicants who can come through and enroll every year, like maybe 100, right, or 80 or something. And so you feel, and it's talked about being a very special privilege to have, to be
Mm.
accepted into the school, and you wear it as a badge of honor, and everyone says it's your golden ticket or it's your Hogwarts letter, as Robbie Miles will
Oh
famously
god.
say.
Hogwarts with fluorescent lighting.
There it is, yes. But I've lost my train of thought a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if I feel that. I don't know if I feel like I've earned that, or that I am at Hogwarts, or that I've earned that, because yeah, I feel like it's a rite of passage, I guess, that we're still on. And so yeah, I definitely feel like an imposter there. And then you also look at, the fabulous cohort that you have, and your tutors and people in other years. And as you say, Cleo, the people who have, more experience than you. And
Mm.
I think it's pretty natural to, like, even though it can be destructive, it's fairly natural to compare yourself to other people. And in that comparison, you go, well, shit, I haven't shot X amount of commercials, or I haven't done
Mm.
a feature yet, but these people
Mm.
have, and they're here in the same position that I'm at. Why am I here?
Yeah,
Um,
what have I done to be here? Yeah.
yeah. So
Where do
maybe
I
that's a
stand
little bit
in
of the
the
feeling state
yeah,
there.
in
Yeah.
the plethora of work that these people have done?
Oh.
No, but this is Jack. Tell us about the fact that you think that you're not a cinematographer. Tell us
Oh,
about that.
yeah. So
That's bull.
no, but like it's exactly when you said that question, I started thinking about this. So like Kumar and I think Jared's gonna get around to it.
Let me pull the
It's
book
a
out.
very expensive book, but it's a book all on cinematography, and it's like it goes there. It is by like Blaine Brown.
Blaine Brown. It's probably mirrored for you guys, but it says cinematography theory and practice for cinematographers and directors.
Mm.
Third edition, Blaine Brown.
Yeah, and it's like the more I read it, the more I go, wow, I have absolutely no idea what I'm
It's
doing.
like full of pictures.
Well,
and
it's not doing a very good
references.
job of teaching you.
No, like no, in like a good way. It's like
Yeah,
a
right.
cinematographer needs to think about this,
Mm.
this, and I'm like, wow, I've never thought about any of that.
Mm.
But but like in a good way of not, like once again, can you really teach cinematography?
Mm.
But it sort of breaks down what happens in the pipeline. But yeah, like exactly what Jared is saying. You have other people who have done stuff outside, or they're much older than you, already working,
Mm.
sort of. Yeah, and just off the self motivation, like just like you, Claire, I went straight from high school to afters, so it's like we've had 13 years of this like institution.
Mm.
That's what's motivating you to do something. So what's that going to feel like when we leave, when it's just us and a
Yeah. Oh
bachelor
my god.
degree? So that's the challenge.
Well, you hide it very well, because my experience working with you, Jack, is like you're very reliable. Like the amount of times on Girl Dog, I was like, make it red and like scary, and you would just know what to do. And I think you need people like that, because yeah, no, I definitely think you're pulling off that not having imposter syndrome very well, because I wouldn't know. You seem
Fake it
perfect for
till
the
you make
job.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna
Make it,
say.
exactly.
Totally.
No, I was gonna say, Jared. Like I guess in this industry, you ought to have that attitude in you in order to actually move forward.
Mm.
Because bro, you get to a master's film set and they've got a crane going on and they've got these amazing $10,000 lights that I've never seen,
That's
and
so
they ask you,
intimidating.
yeah, and they ask you, can you pull focus on my RE camera, and I have to go, yeah, sure, I'll do it. You just have to fake it. You just have to say, yeah, sure, I'll it's fine. I've done it
Oh,
before on an FS5. I can do it on this RE camera as well.
I can hardly
Okay,
focus my
I have a
eyes. I have
question.
astigmatism.
Okay, I have a question going back onto Cleo now. So you've asked, yeah, about, I guess, cinematography. One thing that I like, anytime we talk with actors, it's like, because I've heard so many things that we're like not meant to say, and then I just can't think of a way to explain something. So what was that like on Girl Dog for you, like having to talk
Girl
to
Dog,
actors?
that was tricky because, and you know why? Because about a week earlier, I'd gotten a job as a runner on this rugby ad. And like it was with a bunch of
Oh.
rugby players. Bunch of rugby players, not the best. Their skills are with the ball, not with the microphone, not with the stage or the speaking. And everything that we had been taught about like results oriented directing was just thrown out of the window. Like literally the director is standing next to the camera and saying the line, and the player says it back how they said it. Like they didn't even bother doing like say it with a bit more excitement or like even exaggerate that word. It was literally like this week on sport channel whatever, and they would repeat it back to them. And Girl Dog, because it was a lot of actors saying like short lines to camera, and you're trying to be the good student and go do it as though you're sitting on the toilet, and you just end up going, I just want to tell you how I want you to say it. So it's tricky, but I mean, I think I like when it wasn't like when people weren't saying lines the way I said it. I think you kind of have to force yourself, or the way I wanted it to be said, I think you have to force yourself to sort of open up a little bit more and go, well, this is the actor contributing, like in the same way that like you, Jack, on camera, and the way you film things and the way you color grade is your creative layering and your contribution. Like the way they're saying that line and the way that they're reading that's them, and that's another person adding another layer of meaning. So you kind of have to, I think, let go a little bit. But yeah, there were times on Girl Dog where I was kind of like, okay, repeat after me. But I refrained.
Yeah, well, and especially like as the director, you're always expected to have answers for like everything. So
Yeah.
that, and then yeah, not being able to, I guess, vocalize something, that can be very challenging. So, but I think, yeah, you did a very good job on that, not
Absolutely,
reading
yeah.
lines, because that, that's the easiest way to do it. But
Mm.
yeah, you found a way around it.
It was tricky as well because the whole thing it's rhyming. So like, it's cutting in between people saying lines. It's all like a poem and it rhymes. Sometimes I would be like, oh my god, I would be freaking out on set going, what if we put this all together and it doesn't rhyme and it's just a speech. But I mean, again, that's what like the editor, as you were saying before, Jared, totally underrated because yeah, the timing and like pulling it all together. Oh my god.
Mm.
Shout out to Jackson Phillips. Love you, man.
Jay Phillips.
Jackson
Hey,
Villas,
Jill.
let's go. JP. I was just listening to you guys talking. It was fun. It was fun
How
to
do you
fun to
continue
listen.
from after mentioning Jackson without
Jackson
I know,
Phillips.
Jackson Phillips, mic drop, that's all.
Mic drop.
I've
No,
been
I've had
speaking to him
fun.
a bunch about Cole.
Yeah, how's
Oh,
that going?
yeah.
That's good. Yeah, so I guess for people who don't know, that's just, I guess, our next project, which we are all working on, funnily enough. I think Cleo's producing, and then Jared and Kumar as gaffer slash like ACs, and I'll be shooting that. Yeah, we've just been talking about it, trying to, get excited, stay excited. Yeah, I'm really excited for
Mm.
this one, because it's going to be a good crew, and I guess, sort of coming away from what we've been doing this year, which was like documentary, then episodic. It's sort of going back to the
Short film, yeah.
narrative
Drama.
Yeah. So,
I'm with producing when it's not at afters. Because, like, when you're a producer on like a school project, it's like, here are the documents you need to prepare. You need to get people to sign this, and you need to prepare this. This is like a side thing, you know. And sometimes I feel this is where I really get imposter syndrome. Is I'm like, if someone that didn't do film asked me what a producer is, I'm not sure what I would say.
Mm.
Like,
I find that producer as a role is one of the hardest roles to define.
mm,
Even I think the school struggled to define it, like
yeah,
across
totally.
the 2 years. Like, yeah, it's tough.
Because you're going, do I help them creatively, or am I just taking care of making sure everyone's safe and getting everyone to sign the agreements and then organizing the coffee? Like, or am I like the script editor? It's a tricky thing.
Mm.
For
But
sure.
yeah, I'm definitely keen for a. It's the best part about it not being connected to school is you can shoot for as long as you want, and you don't have to do that like, oh my god, we got 10 minutes, and like, oh my god, someone's coming to like watch us talk to each other. That's the weirdest part of film assessments, is having a teacher sit and judge like how, and you're
The
going, oh my god,
setbacks.
this is gonna be the moment. This
Rough
is gonna be the
timing.
moment I forget everything.
Rough timing with the shoot as long as you want with that new, what is that thing that's happening in America with the striking? About people shooting over lunch breaks, 16-hour days. And Cleo's
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
we can shoot for as long as we want.
Cleo just goes,
That's the
"We can shoot."
producer's mentality right there. You make it work for your money.
No, and the problem with producing, like, you know, going, Cleo, you're the producer, is on a normal movie there's like 16 producers, so it's like there's so many little jobs.
So much work to do.
Yeah, it's a big role.
This morning though, and mind you, okay, don't I agree with Jared, it's a difficult and an important role, but sometimes in the industry the people they credit as producers, you're like, or associate producers or co-producers. My brother and I, for the shits and gigs, watch the D'Amelio show, the first episode this morning. Come end credits, they have the list of executive producers, and it's the entire D'Amelio family, Charlie and
Yeah.
Dixie included. And you're going,
I feel like it's if you throw money at it, you're a producer. Like,
so
Oh,
true.
EP definitely, I
the-
reckon.
yeah, like that's the minimum you have to do.
Yeah.
Like, or not
You
the minimum.
cared.
Wait, is that the right thing? Yeah.
Right, but funny enough, you know how Michael, I don't know if any of you were in the class, but Michael Phillips last year in Image, he gave us a really pro tip in, like, you know, a pro film trip.
Yes.
he said in Hollywood or Bollywood or like any film industry, if people come up to you, they ask for your help, and you know, they ask for you to do some work for them, and then they put too much importance in you, and then they tell you, you know what, you've done so much work for me, I'll give you the associate producer role, you're going to be one of the producers. And he said, as soon as you hear associate producer, just look the other way and start running as quick as you can. He said the associate producer role is the most bullshit role in the industry. That's when they ask you to do anything, because they can ask you to do as much as work as they want, and just, you know,
Or you're
ask
like
you.
Johnny Depp, and they're like, we'll give Johnny Depp a producer credit, even though he was the actor in the thing. It's
I think that's probably because of the money.
It's
The
like a
money is
gift.
like yeah.
It's like
I think I just want to go back to the thing that you said, Cleo, doing productions outside of afters. Because we did one as well. Jared, Jack, and me, we made a short film, and for that we had a fairly small crew, and I was doing most of the stuff, just like doing producing and like ADing and like all the logistical roles. It got quite taxing personally while directing and talking to the actors as well. So that's when you know, I really had so much appreciation for the AD on set, just to not worry about safety, just to not worry about where people are at a particular time. If there's a fire alarm, I'm not the one who's going to be worried about, because I'm caring for the actors. If I'm the director, or if I'm the cine, I can look after the camera crew. I'm looking at the camera.
Take the camera and run.
It's just insane. Like we had these moments where we're like running out of batteries and we don't have enough time to shoot, and like all of this thing, like, you know, everything crumbling down, and you are at the center of this. You're the director, producer, and the AD.
Mm.
You have to make the decision: how much time do I have, and do I take another take? And it was a bloody oneer. It was like 5 minutes, just a 5 minute take. So it was no. I think productions outside of AFTRS give us insights and way more experience than what I don't know
Totally.
what
But
AFTRS is trying to
you know
do.
what I always find with being an AD? Your feet hurt at the end of the day. It's stressful. I hate using Excel. But there is something sort of comforting in a way that's like, maybe this sounds mean, but when you're like on set and you're like, I don't have any creative responsibilities. Like that take was bad, but that's not my job. I'll just let it be. And when it's call time, when it's wrap up, you're like, cool, I don't have to edit anything. I don't have to care about. I just watch it in a couple weeks when it's finished, and I'll be happy camper no matter what. And I will know that I looked after everyone, not stepping on cords and wearing masks, and it was a good and happy day.
And now COVID. Yeah, definitely.
I know, yeah.
No one died. My job is done.
Quite
Well,
literally, yeah.
On that note, that everyone's still alive and we still have the opportunity to go and do the next production. Jared, would you be kind enough to wrap this up for us if you are still alive?
Absolutely. Somehow, I'm still here. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and thank you, Cleo, for joining us this week. It was really good to have you. I think we all enjoyed
Good to
kind
be
of
here.
talking about. Yeah, I think we really enjoyed the discussion on film school and no film school because obviously we're all impacted by it, and most of our listeners are too. So yeah, thanks for taking a few hours out of your day to join us. And do you have any other thoughts or things you want to talk about before we go?
Oh, I don't know. Enjoy freedom, everybody. Go hard and soak in every minute on the train.
Appreciate trains again. That's the key takeaway you want to give?
Appreciate trains matter. Wear your best
Trains-
shirt.
Oh,
hashtag
there we
trains
go.
matter.
Miss your stop on purpose. Ride it longer.
Yeah,
Yep.
relatable.
Epic.
Beautiful. Well, this has been episode 6 of the Second Unit podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.
Like,
See you later.
subscribe. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening.